IHI Books presents Bertin River Part 8, a novel by Jan Gary Cantav. Background music by Fula, featuring my late friend Tito, composer, singer, and guitarist.
Chapter 20. The Updates. Baby Moses. 1 year after Moses was found in a pile of trash in Bertin, the boy is doing well. He is catching up with his age group. He walks with ease, but his legs are already showing signs of deformation. Unless corrected, he may have to deal with extremely bowed legs for the rest of his life. Nobody really knows Moses' birth name or his real age. He was almost anonymously named Moses, and without any argument, he was estimated to be 2 years old at the time he was found. Therefore, officially, Moses' birthday was the day he was found. On the 16th of September, the day he was found, he had his first birthday with his new family. When baby Moses was rescued, he could not talk, he could not stand on his own, and he could not walk. Now he has enough vocabulary words to communicate with his new mom and dad and with his siblings. He walks and runs all over the place. Although we want to think that we have moved on, we will always remember the infamous day he almost died. When we talk about him, we will often mention the circumstances that have become part of his makeup. Some of us will still be around when he grows up and becomes what he was destined to be. Let us hope for the best. Anna. After signing her baby to a family in Bertin, Anna felt a great sense of relief. She no longer had to care for an infirm baby who was unable to progress under her care. She was happy and relieved that her child did not die when she threw him in the river. She started to clean her one-room shack. Having a space on her own, however small and unclean, without the burden of a child, started to attract a few opportunistic males, young and old. Some of them got rewarded. Life was being reinfused in Anna's flesh and bones. The only problem that she faced without the baby was that her bottle business practically dried out. The customers were buying her bottles mostly to help her with the baby. Now that the baby was no longer in her care, they lost the incentive to buy from her. Also, her reputation took a bad beating in the community. She was seen as possessed by some kind of devilish spirit. With her bottle business gone kaput, her reputation in the mud, she reverted to her primordial survival instinct. She started to sell herself for small amounts of money, or sometimes for just a meal. Not everyone is built for that kind of tough and dehumanizing business. She feels sick before, during, and after every service. The voices that haunted her when she had the custody of her boy came back and incessantly talked in her head. Anna could not understand what was going on in her life. She was completely confused, alone, scared. She feared losing her mind. She had no friend to talk to. She missed her baby too. She knew what happened. She knew where her baby lives now. She knew the family that adopted him. She knew that her baby's name had changed. She understood why the Bertinois hated her. She knew not to steal her baby back, although some days she felt like doing just that. The other day, the moon was full and low in the sky. The sounds in her head got louder, so loud that they gave her a headache. In days like these, she spends a lot of time in the river, walking back and forth, talking to herself, talking to the river, talking to whoever is willing to listen to her. My baby went to school and never came home, she explains to the amused passerby. Last night, her mom came to visit. Although she was very disappointed to witness her daughter's questionable lifestyle, her maternal instinct took over, and she switched from showing her disappointment to expressing herself towards her sweet motherly love. She helped her take a shower like you would do to a little girl. She powdered her with white baby powder from head to toe as she used to do when she was a baby, and she put her in bed. This was the most beautiful night she had ever had for years. For once, she did not have to worry about anything. No crying baby, abusive man, drunkards, mischievous customers, and especially no shaming looks. Peace at last. It was so beautiful. She slept like an angel. When she woke up, the sun was already high in the sky. The tarp that serves as her roof was so old and so blasé that she could see the sky through it. Although she was no longer asleep, she stayed in bed for a few more minutes to savor the last drops of her good time with her mom. When she finally got up, the bottles that she had a hard time to sell were piling at the corner of her room. The smell of cigar left by Leon, one of her clients. A bold man in his 50s who always asks for a discount but never gets it, and 410 Haitian gourds on the small table by her bed were such a wake-up slap. She looked around, looking for her mom. Of course, she wasn't there. Mom never came. Mom passed away long ago when Anna was still a young little girl. It's not the first time that she had almost the same exact dream. Every time she has those recurrent dreams, they bring her comfort that lasts a few days. This time seemed a little different. The few days of comfort were followed by a few more days and a few more days and a few more. Idalia and Altador. A year after the regrettable incidents that shook the very foundation of their relationship, Altador and Idalia were doing well, so well that they were expecting their first child. The pregnancy came as a surprise since Idalia was already in her late 30s and Altador was nearing the big 50. Idalia had never been pregnant before, and she was very happy to announce to the world that she was going to have a baby. When she called her mom in St. Mark to tell her about her becoming a grandma, she did not sound surprised. "I knew this would eventually happen," she said. "This is one of the big favors I asked my sweet Jesus to do for me before I die. I knew he would never let me down." Idalia could never understand how such a fervent Christian woman like her mom, who lives and breathes for Jesus, showed no misericorde, mercy, forgiveness, to her own child when she was going through challenging times. If her mom had a little more understanding and tolerance, she would not have to sleep on the streets, which is very dangerous for anyone, especially for a young woman. Altador, a very protective man, became more so during his wife's pregnancy. He wanted to make sure she ate the right food, got the right amount of sleep, that she took her vitamins as doc prescribed. It wasn't his first child, but it was the first with Idalia, the woman of her dream, her femme vanyan, a woman a man can count on. Altador promised himself to cut short on his own extramarital escapades, especially now that he was going to be a new daddy, but he remorsefully succumbed a few times with more than one of his many mistresses. The late Claude, the river claimed Claude's life. This well-built young man who seemed to live by a twisted code of ethics, just don't get caught, was no longer alive to roam in the rocky and dusty corridors of Bertin. He had no close family in the city and not too many people missed him. The many ladies he used to put on his who-to-do list quickly replaced him by other carefree guys willing to fill the vacuum. Bertin is a city known for loose relationships. Claude was a great contributor to the town reputation. When you have a bunch of 20-something-year-olds loose in a small town, with nothing to do from sunrise to sunset, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, expectations should not be too high. In Bertin, there are many children born and raised without the participation of a father. It looks like social parthenogenesis is in full fledge in this little corner of Carrefour. In some circles, those children are known as the children of the river. The joke is that those women got pregnant just by bathing alone for too long in the river. When one looks at the many problems of small, abandoned places like Bertin, it is easy to think that the main issues are the lack of resources, the dying vegetation, the closing of factories, etc. However, those are rather the symptoms of the real problem. The source of our decline is that we are losing our human resources. Claude could have been a great athlete representing the country in the Olympics, for example, but you can bet that this never crossed his mind. He didn't have the belief that he could ever do anything other than what he was doing. That is nothing. He didn't have any guidance. He didn't have any dream. Although Claude was not missed, he was not completely forgotten in Bertin. Some people say that Altador got his revenge by paying Philogene, one of the top sorcerers in Bertin, to show him the way out. Some people are so certain that his accident was not a normal accident that they swear to see him sometimes, in plain daylight, bathing in the river. Some say that his soul is not resting in peace, like it happens in normal death, but that his soul is vagabonding in Bertin, sometimes in form of a big dog at night. This belief was so ingrained in the population that, a month ago, an unfortunate incident happened near the bridge. It was about 6 p.m., the sun was about to go down, and a lady coming from the marketplace was attacked by a dog, a big black dog, as she was trying to make room for a loud motorcycle passing by. The sound of the speeding motorcycle mixed with the bark of the dog startled her. Whatever was left of the merchandise she had balanced on her head in a large basket fell on the ground. Her eyes and the eyes of the angry dog crossed for a few seconds. She could swear that she saw Claude staring at her, not the dog. "This is Claude! Claude!" she yelled hysterically. In no time, half of the population, it seemed like it, rushed to the scene of the incident. She could hardly speak and uttered a few words explaining that this huge, clean black dog that has never been seen before in Bertin was not an ordinary dog, but that it was in fact Claude. Meanwhile, the dog became more and more irritated by the unruly crowd. The fate of the dog was sealed when a short man with a machete showed up on the scene. He swiftly beheaded what he believed was the late Claude. Its demise dumped in the river put an end to the saga. Haitian people have very little tolerance for spirits that want to come back uninvited. They have never seen such a big black dog in the neighborhood. Claude was the most recent deceased, whose death was suspicious, i.e. not natural. Therefore, the dog must be a form espoused by the late Claude to come back and mess with the living. The body of the big black dog could still be seen being carried by the river when a middle-aged white lady, a missionary with one of the many Catholic charities in Haiti, asked in broken French if anyone in the crowd has seen a dog. A large black dog. She added, showing with her hands how tall her dog was. Everyone remained speechless. They seemed very embarrassed and looked at each other. The lady noticed that the floor was soaked with blood. She also noticed the bloody machete and turned in time to the river to see the decapitated body of her baby disappearing behind the bushes as saying a last goodbye. There was nothing else to say. She turned away and walked back to the house where she came from. She locked herself in her room and cried her soul out. She cried because she had just lost a member of her family. She had had this dog for more than 10 years. She also cried because those evil people have just changed her views of the world. At this moment, she only felt resentment. Her soul ran out of compassion for the poor. Why should the world care about their misery if they are heartless, savage people without notions of right and wrong? Maybe they simply deserve to be in poverty. The American missionary lady and her dog have just arrived in Haiti the night before. They were in a missionary trip. The dog just wandered out of the house for the first time. She probably got lost. A few tears were still running on the lady's face. She composed herself as much as she could, considering the circumstances, and called American Airlines to make a reservation. She was cutting her trip short. The next morning, she will depart for South Carolina, USA. No more missionary work. It was time for her to retire for good and let the earth spin on its own. Que sera sera. She would like to pay any amount of money to rescue the lifeless body of her dog. She wanted to give her a proper burial in a beautiful pet cemetery in the U.S. The chance to find it was almost nil. As my friend said, Claude caused a lot of problems during his short life in Bertin, and even after his death, indirectly he was the reason why this missionary woman left. Usually, the missionary lady who cut her trip short spends about 2 months in Bertin, and those months are a blessing for everybody. A country where misery is rampant cannot afford losing missionaries. They bring hope, they bring the almighty dollar. Missionaries are fun to be around. I personally have a lot of admiration for whoever leaves his or her home country and travels abroad to help complete strangers. The river, the bridge, the people. Bertin has not changed too much. The bridge is still holding on. The river is the same, bipolar as usual. Some days she is calm like a sleeping baby. Some days she is furious, enraged, foaming to the point of changing color. Every day, many big and heavy trucks cross the river, as well as many cars, motorcycles, and overloaded wheelbarrows. Every time they force their way through the riverbed becomes deeper and deeper by a few immeasurable values, but it is simply a matter of time. At some point, unless something is done about it, the river will become too deep to cross by those means of transportation. The people living in Bertin will be more and more isolated from the rest of Carrefour, with all the dire consequences one can imagine. A lot of disturbing events happen all the time everywhere in the world. Sometimes we are part of these events, sometimes our friends or family are. Bertin, this small city on a hill, has been recently the scene of quite a few testing circumstances. Those incidents do not simply come and go, they leave behind indelible traces. New friendships are formed, new enemies too, and they can last for generations. The recent events have for sure reshuffled Bertin. Anna no longer has a child, and she is and will be for long the most despised young lady in town. You do not throw away your child in a country where motherhood is a sacred obligation. Some people will not even let their children go near her house. They really believe that she might eat them. Moses is growing up. Altidore has a new mother, the lady who prevented T. Claude from finishing him during this merciless fight. He reserves a bowl of food for his new mom every day. Idalia, his wife, is expecting, a first in her life. Viviane and I got married. Time heals. Time changes our circumstances. Time erases our memories, good and bad. Time makes room for new time. New time becomes old time. Some people need counselors to take their hands and guide them out of the storms. Some are built to endure any kind of tough situations, and often in the middle of tribulations, they are the ones who help others get through the fog. As time continued its course in Bertin, those events that at the time preoccupied our minds evaporated like they never even happened. They were replaced by other events that seemed more pressing and more serious, sometimes simply because they were new. Like a small boat gliding on the glossy surface of a calm river, leaves behind beautiful wavy lines that soon disappear. If it were not for our memory, those events too would soon disappear without a trace. But they don't. Places like people form memories that give them their special cachet, good or bad. Bertin is a special place. Its river is even more special. I came to Bertin to slow down. I came here to retire. I ended up starting a new chapter in my life. I married again. The ceremony was simple, but its significance was huge. My new wife and I spend most of our time helping others better their lives. We opened a small after-school program to help children learn. With our meager resources, we helped put kids in school, put food in their bellies, and a smile on their faces. We acquired a small farm and raised goats, cows, and a few chickens, mostly for their milk and eggs. The small farm was a very important tool to prevent malnutrition in the area. Some children helped us maintain the farm. All children in need were able to get milk, eggs, and other nutritive items from our farm. Viviane got kicked out of her church right after we got married. The church was very strict and harsh. We understood. From time to time, Viviane misses her church. She was born in the message. Viviane and her children never set foot in their old church again. We were both in the same situation now. We were both Christian missionaries who had no official affiliation with any church. We were very glad to be two local Christian missionaries. Compared to an American Christian missionary, our skin had a little bit too much melanin. Our eyes were far from being blue. Our Haitian Creole accent was too authentic. Our resources too scarce, but our hearts and minds were no different from those of our white American counterparts. From time to time, when they are serving our community, we participate in their activities. We benefit a lot from them. We learn by observing how to become more efficient in the delivery of our goods and services. We hope that one day, Bertin will no longer need so much help. We would be able to bring our small contributions to other localities. We hope that among those children, some of them, when they grow up, will do the same for other children. We hope that the poor will help the poor. Tonight, the night is very quiet except for the sound of the river. She is singing a lovely tune. If you close your eyes and stop breathing for a few seconds, you might hear her voice. The river is all smiles tonight. She is singing a very slow, melodious yanbalu. Close your eyes and enjoy. The river is singing tonight. The river is happy tonight.